So this week we actually spoke with a student of mine, Nate Newman. Nate is a player and teacher of stringed instruments, along with a sound engineer. We didn't really get a chance to speak to him about sound engineering as we ran out of time, but still a great interview. As always, after you're done with this one, go back and check out the other ones. Enjoy.
I'm Nate. I'm one of Jose's students from Kung Fu,
Nice.
but in the rest of my life, I'm a musician and sound engineer mixer.
Oh, beautiful. Nice. Yeah. When did you guys meet?
Was it a year and a half ago ish?
Yeah, just a little bit more than that. So that was October 18, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so almost 2 years, I guess. Then coming up on 2 years. Just we'll jump right into it. What is your what would you say your main instrument or vocal, or what is your main tool that you use to make music with?
My main focus is definitely guitar.
Okay.
And I've also played bass for a lot more bands than I've played guitar in. Just because there's always plenty of people who are ready to play guitar and bang out solos, things like that. But
Yeah.
the need for bass players is, I would say the demand is higher.
Yeah.
But as of the last couple of months, I was in Columbus, lease ended, now I'm back home in Cleveland. I'm kind of setting up here because after the summer and the fall, I'm going back to school, finishing a program for audio engineering that I started in Texas. While I'm here and while I can't go outside and there's no shows to be played, I'm just doing a lot of mixing.
Is that mixing of your own music or other people's music or combination?
Other people's music and live shows.
Okay.
Yeah, I got connected with a few people out in Long Island. Actually, they work at a venue called My Father's Place, which is a relaunch of a historic venue in Rosslyn, New York. That I think the Wikipedia page says something like easy to get shows there. Madonna, Billy Joel, a whole bunch of East Coasters got some of their first shows out there, and they've been sending me backlog of 2 years of shows. I just mix a recording that they're going to sync with video. They use it for television program they run.
Nice.
Yeah, and I have some other friends who are about to get back into the studio when things get a little bit safer. So
Yeah.
he's sending me some things.
Can you go back into time, back and kind of talk about your musical journey, how you started, what influenced you, what age were you when you kind of started to kind of find your niche in music?
Okay, so my first foray into actually learning an instrument was, every kid's dream, clarinet. It's sixth grade, and they're starting to open up the band and music programming to the students. And orchestra is pretty much the only avenue that they provide. And I saw all the instruments, and I said, saxophone is obviously the coolest choice. So I said, yeah, I want to play saxophone. They're like, perfect, here's a clarinet.
Same thing.
Yeah, similar enough that it's the same thing. Is there's always people who want to play guitar, but we really need bass players. There's always people who want to play sax, but we really need clarinet players.
Yeah.
Transferable skills. So I was on clarinet for 2 years, and then saxophone for a few after that when I finally earned a spot with it. And I was about 13 or 14. I was just not feeling orchestra. But my dad is from a very musical family. And he plays a bunch of instruments, one of which happened to be guitar. And so he got me started on that. And as far as sounds in the house and of my childhood, there was always Eric Clapton or Pink Floyd or Jethro Tull. And this is right before my adolescence was right before streaming became a really available thing. Mm-hmm. So if I'm in the car, I don't have my phone that I can just play a bunch of music through. I have the radio, and the classic rock station was the one that I was always on. So the sound of the guitar was always the best part of the meal.
Yeah.
As far as music went for me. So I was naturally just drawn to that.
Yeah. So then did you how did you go about grabbing the guitar and practicing? Did you take lessons or were you just kind of self-teaching yourself?
Um, so I did take lessons for the first couple of months. I was playing my dad's guitar. He gave me, I think the first 2 days, he said, here's a scale. You play it on one string, learn to play that up and down. And so I did that. And then after that, he taught me House of the Rising Sun. And
Mm.
so, which great song, classic. And it, sort of woke me up like, oh, songs are made of chords. And at that point, yeah. And so if you know the 8 cowboy chords, then you'll be able to play thousands and thousands of classic songs.
What is
Uh,
that, like the C, D, G, all those chords?
yeah, C, D, G, A minor, E
Okay.
minor,
Okay.
D minor.
Yeah.
But it's the few, and they're basic shapes.
Yeah.
After that, I was like, oh, any song that I like, if there's, it's a strumming chord type of song, I can Google that. I can look up what are the chords that they're playing along with
Yeah.
the words, and I can teach myself to play a song.
Yeah.
I was never really too concerned about doing it super perfectly correct. I just wanted to feel like I got there and I was actually making music,
Yeah.
that it was an enjoyable thing. After a couple of months of that, I'd been improving, and my parents were like, well, you're clearly taking it seriously, so let's get you some lessons. Um, and so I started taking lessons once a week with some guy down the street, and yeah, that kind of gave me a direction to go with developing my playing as far as like a fully rounded guitar player.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, like, when you started taking lessons compared to when you were dabbling on your own and looking stuff that you were interested in and just kind of freestyling and learning, uh, was there a difference? Like, were you, because I know for some people, lessons are like, oh, God, I got to go to guitar lesson, or were you like, like you couldn't wait to go to a guitar lesson and soak up knowledge?
I was definitely more the latter. And
Okay.
for the last couple of years, my main gig was actually teaching guitar lessons. So then I was on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Most people, I realized that I was unusual in that I really wanted to be there and I had things that I really wanted to learn. And that I wasn't shy about saying the thing that I was after.
Yeah.
And I've maybe had one student out of hundreds who ever pursued their own lessons that way. But I was like, I like this song. I'd like to learn to play this song. You could ask any guitar teacher and say, if a student said that to you, how would you react? I would say 99% of them would be like, fuck yeah, that's the easiest lesson. We know what we're after. This kid
Yeah.
wants to do it.
Yeah.
The lesson will take.
Yeah.
So really, I just got extra support and knowledge to keep pursuing how to become more of a guitar player, because I wanted to become more of a guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something, and then is there something in, I guess it's a loaded question, but in guitar playing or music that you like, that you gravitate towards, that you like better? Like, is it the lead? Is it the melody? Is it like the chord progression? Is there something that you just like, you're like, that's what I love?
Yes, all of them at different times, for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And it depends on what I was into, what kind of music, because at first, just when I was getting started and it was kind of, my hands were learning to hold a guitar and press frets and let things ring out. I was just focused on chords and having a good time and playing songs. After lessons, I started having a better understanding of theory and the importance of scales and working in key. Definitely for the bulk of my playing in my life, I've been more focused on soloing. And then in my adult music career, I started thinking more about rhythm playing. which can be a lot more than just strumming a chord. Takes an understanding of the actual parts of a chord and separate tones. And I would say that's sort of blended my concept of soloing with rhythm playing. So it can actually become a lot more expressive, even when you're just supporting as a player in a rhythm section.
Sure.
Yeah. And in the last 2 years, I've been focused finally much more on songwriting. And so now I'm finding it depends on the song now. Sometimes if I can, I'll allow myself to be naive and use only 2 or 3 simple chords in a song. But a lot of the time, the music nerd in me won't let me do that. And so it's pushing to be a little bit more interesting or complex. And different parts of the song need more rhythm, need more vocal, are supposed to be more exciting. Some are just ready for a fuck yeah guitar solo. But yeah, so it's all kind of coming together. I'm at this point, I'm seeing there's a value in every sort of use of playing style, but it's entirely contextual.
Right.
Going back to like you teaching and
Yeah.
your the lessons from that guy on the block,
Mm-hmm.
how much of your teaching in particular is influenced by his teaching style, or did you, like, after learning from him and then picking up the guitar and figuring out, now you have a different way of approaching how to express that to other people?
I think that, and you'd probably relate to this because you teach martial arts and you train people, is at first you're going to teach the way that you were taught. And
Yeah.
once you realize that a lot of people aren't there under their own steam, or a different kind of steam or a different amount of it, that you have to really take each person, each student, and assess and see, well, how is the lesson going to take? What do they need? What can I present to them that's not going to scare them, that's going to give enough challenge, but also enough of a victory to give them some gumption to keep going. For me, I didn't realize before I started teaching how much of that was going to be being clever about teaching, that people aren't just going there to learn guitar. A lot of the time people don't know what they want to learn, don't have they're embarrassed to say what songs they want to learn because they think, well, it'll probably be too advanced and it'll seem dumb for me to ask to learn that. And a lot of the time it's kids who don't want to be there, and so they don't even know.
Parents play, here, go learn this.
Exactly, it's like, so that's more like babysitting duty, but being able to give them something that will at least stimulate them, that they might find enjoyable for a half hour. But for the most part, definitely started teaching the way that I was taught. A lot of people, parents especially, ask, what's the best book that my kid could be using? Or should I use a theory book or just follow my interests? And I would 100% still now say, follow your interests. But if you don't have interests, yeah, sure, a book will get you there. Yeah.
Well, this is going to be like a 2-part question. So that teacher, and then going back, and now you're teaching. How has those 2 different avenues influenced your I guess there's an obvious answer, so don't use an obvious answer for the teacher, but how has that influenced your playing style and how you like to play and what you like to play? Obviously, your teacher is going to give you these things that you have to learn how to play, but outside of that, just like your wants, what you want to do.
Yeah, I would say there was probably a bit of a burnout for teaching for me. It's hard to find a perfect situation where you're getting the students that you really would like to be teaching, and that happens for some people. I like kids, and I don't mind teaching them, but it can be a drag when 9 out of 10 of them don't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really preferred teaching them in classes when I had the chance in Texas. But I have an old teacher from Cincinnati, not my first teacher, but he has his own studio and teaches exclusively adults, and that's his living. And so that's his chance to really just nerd out and go deep on these different parts of playing that he really appreciates. For me as a player, I would say that just going over the basics of what is music harmonically and melodically, it makes me a lot more cognizant of how I'm using harmony and sort of what function a melody plays in a song now that I'm writing more. Just because that is a really fundamental part of music that I've gone over with nearly every student that I've taught.
How much have you been writing in this quarantine time state, or have you been doing
I wish
more?
I wish that I've been doing more, but I've written a few songs since being locked inside, and
Like Folsom style?
yeah. Yeah, well, that would be me visiting people who were still locked down while I'm just like, yeah, I'm free. I feel you though. But no, I've probably written a few songs. I've been I wouldn't call it composing, but I guess that's what it is. But more like producing, making songs, making beats, making fragments of songs. A lot of the time, if I don't have an idea that I'm really trying to flesh out into a song, I just sit down and I try to make something, even if I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you go about making a song from like the very, very beginning? Like, is it an idea, or is like what does that evolution of a song look like for you?
Okay. It's always different. And
Yeah.
for some people it's always the same.
Yeah.
So I'm trying a lot of different things right now because I haven't been doing this for a really long time. I would say I'm sort of a novice songwriter. For me though, it's I would say that if I'm coming at it from the musical side, I'm making up some music that may inspire a feeling, and then I might write lyrics to that. That tended to be easier starting out. So that really would just be a lot of, I sit down every day, I open up my workstation and I record some tracks. If something that it really has momentum, then I'll keep going with it.
Is that on the guitar? Is that you playing the guitar and kind of singing along?
Most of the time it's on guitar when I'm kind of feeling it out.
Yeah.
I would say, 95% guitar. I mean, I have my my controller here, and I play a little bit of piano.
Is that I got one back here. Is that a Arturia?
Yeah. The
Yeah, cool.
88.
Yeah, I got a 60. I got a 49. So I got a little guy.
You know what? I got this because I really wanted like the full piano experience.
Yeah.
And now I'm having trouble finding a place to set up and work. I kind of wish that I didn't. Because it's just gonna be like punching into the walls in my corner desk, and we'll find a way. But yeah, that's an Arturia. If I have to, I'll get on here and I'll kind of find some pads and synths and things like that to add to it. For the most part, it's guitar, and I can even on some of my gear can imitate a bass and not have to pick up a different instrument. I'll keep using that guitar. And finding a riff or a motif or a theme or something in that and carrying it in. And once that really feels like it's working, that's when I start throwing something else into the mix. That's because once you finish that, that's your A section. And some songs can be entirely an A section. And that's fine. You're just doing verses and choruses over it. But I really like changes in mood or modulation when it moves into different keys. I appreciate a good bridge that gives some arc to a song.
Bridges, nothing like a good bridge.
Nothing like a good bridge. Yeah, and so that's when I really start. That's almost starting over again, and it almost feels like the planets have to align. It's like you can get that first part to work, but if nothing's happening on the next bit of it, and it's like, well, we might just have to shelve this for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then lyrically, I work with a guy named Eric Rollin, who's a rapper in Columbus. And we do a lesson trade every week. So I teach him some really basic kung fu, and he teaches me songwriting.
Nice. That's perfect.
Yeah. He's in a group called Mr. Anderson. So he's been really loving that Mr. Anderson is learning kung fu.
I know.
But yeah, I would say his fundamental exercise in coming up with content for lyrics is a 5 and 5. He says, write 5 things about your environment that you would change. Write 5 things about your environment that you wouldn't change. Write a line or a sentence or something for each of those, or don't. And then you take all of that raw material and you make either a verse or a paragraph, write an essay.
I like that. I never heard that.
Yeah, and you have to use all of it. And that's worked sometimes for me.
Yeah.
Another thing for me.
That's like your physical environment, or that's can be like your mental state or environment.
Yeah, exactly. Just part of your life. Yeah. So I found for me starting out that a lot of my 5 and 5s were really similar.
Yeah.
And so
I can't imagine they're all gonna be the same right now.
My life is pretty boring. It doesn't change.
Well, especially right now, everyone's like seeing the same few people.
Yeah, and
the same room every day.
It's not on the table to write another quarantine blues. So we're passing up on that. What else is there? But one thing that I've been playing around with has been I would just write an essay, just like fill a page, like a journal entry. And I would go back through it and I would take one color highlighter, I would highlight all the nouns. I would take another color highlighter and highlight all the verbs. And then I recorded those into 2 columns on another page. Ooh. And each one I would just take a noun and I would follow it with the verb, every single verb afterwards to see what the combinations come up with.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and that comes up with some fragments and some little lines that come with so much built-in content already.
Yeah.
Just between the 2 words that you can kind of finish out a line or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then reversing it, I found has been if you start with verb and then go with noun, much more of a song title generator.
Okay. Yeah.
It's weird how that it really is more suited to that. So one of them was position haver, time haver, project haver. So that's my nouns and verbs. And then if I can see, something like this. Taking the routine, taking the future. So reversing this kind of gives a different feeling, or like a noun and then a verb says more of a momentary statement.
Yeah.
Or a sort of symbolic object. And then verb going into noun is trying to sum up an entire experience or an entire idea.
That's really cool. That's a cool technique. And it's cool because you could maybe never think of that without doing that technique. And so it's like something that's so kind of left field for you, and you're gonna get inspired by that itself.
Yeah, it almost tricks you into writing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for a lot of people, not being self-filtering during your ideating and figuring out your writing and just trying things is the biggest problem. So censoring your own ideas before you even use them.
Right.
Sorry about that. I thought.
No worries.
Popular guy getting some work.
Yeah. Fuck, I wish. Yeah, but then you have all of this stuff that you already wrote down that you actually you only have half ownership of it, because you had ownership when you wrote that journal entry, but then when you just started combining things, you were really just playing with the English language.
Right.
So it takes it a little bit out of your hands. And then you can start using that once you've generated some raw material.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's worked for me a little bit. I think I might have written 1 or 2 songs that way. And lately, I've had a little bit of burnout, where I felt like every time I picked up the guitar, I was working on something. So I had to take a little bit of a break, and I didn't want such a prescribed, regimented process. So I just had an idea for a song title, and I've just carried my notebook with me wherever I'm going, either walking around the house or keeping it in the car. And if I'm not doing anything too mentally demanding, I'm thinking about the idea of the song. And if a line comes around, then I'll jot it down. And once you open up the notebook, you look at the other things that you've written, and that gets some juices flowing. My mom's a painter, and I don't know who to ascribe the quote to, but one thing she has said is, the muse will visit you, but you have to have a tool in your hand.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can you explain the muse for people that never heard that before?
The muse is like, I don't know what the origin of the muse is, but it's like a separate entity that brings you ideas.
Ooh, I love that.
And it so feels like that sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Is that how it feels like to you? Like you're just kind of a messenger to this like this idea, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta get this out. I gotta write this down.
I mean, the whole experience at its best has felt like that, but sometimes it's just like, just keep putting time in, and sometimes polishing a turd works. The muse never came.
So you talk about a couple times you talk about burnout. So like burnout with teaching, burnout with writing. What about burnout with like gigging? How does that affect you?
Burnout with gigging. No, I haven't done any touring.
Okay.
And that's where I've really heard it happen more. There are definitely some people that I've played with that it was just hard it wasn't really about gigging, but it was more about being in this unit was the burnout.
Are you a artist that thrives on kind of creating alone and then going to other people, or like starting with like a collaborative effort from the beginning?
I really enjoy collaborating.
Yeah,
I do. It's a lot of fun with the right people. But just because a lot of people start out making music alone.
Yeah.
That's mostly my MO.
Yeah.
But playing in bands, the problem that I've run into more than anything has been people are too nice. Like recently, I worked at the
ego.
Yeah. Well, I could use a little bit of ego in my other bandmates, but like recently, I won't say the name of the band, but like Dave Matthews Band, where the band is named after the guy whose band, he's really the leader. It was a naming convention like that, and still, every decision was decision by committee. And I was like, please, I just want a quarterback. Like, just yell
Yeah,
the
yeah.
play and I'll do it.
It's like solo time, and everyone's like, "You can play." No, you go ahead and play.
No, you first.
You first. You go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's no assertiveness in decision making, and so the band having a direction never really happened. It really suffered for that.
Yeah,
that's happened a couple of times in bands that I've been in.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think about Miles Davis or
I just automatically went to like oh my gosh, James Brown.
James Brown. Yeah, perfect example. It's like these guys who were just miserable douchebag bosses.
But their bands were
they produced incredible music, and their band was always tight.
Yeah,
and that's because they had a direction and a vision that they were shooting for.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like this Michael Jordan podcast. I don't know if you saw, but he was a leader, and they won championships, but he was also a little dick sometimes to get the job done.
Yeah, it's like an effective leader doesn't mean you like the guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of leading, we're actually about to run out of time. So if you got anything you want to plug, where can somebody find you if they need some engineering, they need some songwriting, if they need some guitar riffs, where can they find you at? Or
probably best catch-all for everything is I post a few clips of my music and a little bit of something of everything that I'm usually working on my Instagram. So my Instagram is @Nate_makes_. So follow.
Make sure you put a link in there. I don't know, somewhere. One of these directions.
Like
down there. Maybe over there, up there.
Yeah.
Dang, we didn't even jump into engineering, but appreciate it.
Maybe we'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah, would love it, guys. This has been really fun.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you, man. Nice to meet you. Appreciate it.
Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. It was good. Stay tuned. Next week, we have one more interview coming up. A great friend of mine, Ethan Hampton. It's going to be our last one that we have recorded so far. So if you guys want more content, please let us know in the comments. Also, if you have anyone that you would like us to interview or think that would be a great interview, also let us know in the comments. Shoot them send us an @, and we'll see if we can figure it out.